2 years ago, how many of you would have thought that you would have been stuck or forced into your homes and been at the mercy of a deadly virus, and you would have been forced to wear masks in every building that you entered? It's because of this that being informed about COVID in this day and age is very important. Although we know of the COVID-19 virus, we actually don't know very much about it. So, I'm going to be discussing some main points. 1, the origin of COVID, meaning when and where it happened. 2, the different strains of the virus. And 3, the Asian hate that has resulted from it. So let's get started with the virus's origins. So, I'm going to be discussing this myth that circulated the internet for a long time on COVID's origins, and that it was due to someone in Wuhan, China, drinking bat soup. This is not proven, and in fact it's actually been proven to be false. However, there is a little kernel of truth in there. It did originate in Wuhan, China. In 2021, Smriti Malapati published an article on COVID's origins, and in that article she cites the World Health Organization as explaining that the first case was of an office worker in Wuhan. The article then says that the office worker hadn't experienced any recent travels, and that he began showing symptoms of the virus in 2019. However, it was discovered that the virus had been well established by the end of the year. This discovery was made in December, at the beginning. So, now that we've talked about that, let's start about what types of COVID there are. Because of the many places that COVID spread to through traveling, there have been new strains of it. An article about the new variants of COVID, written by Robert Bollinger and Stuart Ray in 2021, talks about this thing called geographic separation, which causes genetic differences in strains of a virus. Specific strains tend to have some different qualities. In that article, there is a strain of the virus called the B.1.351, which, when treated with a form of the vaccine known as the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine, it's only shown to be very slightly disturbed. Not very much progress is done on it. It's because these strains with higher levels of difficulty against vaccines that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention still request people to wear their masks and keep up with general hygiene and social distance from one another. So because of these strains of the virus, we can now move on to the effects of what happened with the virus, mainly Asian hate. In 2020, Asian hate increased by a wide margin. An article on anti-Asian discrimination was written by Aaron McCormick in 2021, where it explains that hate crimes against Asian people in America, in California even, increased by double. There were influential figures known as Donald Trump who even supported it by referring to coronavirus as the China virus, which places the blame on Chinese people. There have even been violent attacks on people of the Asian community, like there was a recorded case in that same article of a 75-year-old man and being robbed and eventually being murdered by it. And also the stabbing, most recently in San Francisco, of a 94-year-old woman. In conclusion, after reviewing where and when COVID came from, and the way that it mutates, and the new strains, and also the Asian hate that comes from it, these are some of the topics that people can use to help understand COVID a little bit better. The information that I'm talking about isn't very widely known by the public, and it's because of that that we must shed more light on what COVID's background is, to safely put doubts and misunderstandings to rest.